Hello and welcome to Level 9 of the Thoughts and Players podcast, a brand new gaming podcast with bold takes and no strings attached. I am Jeremy, once again here with my compadres. I have David.
What up?
And I have Cory.
Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. That's a great quote, right?
That's actually a pretty encouraging quote.
Right. You know where it's from?
No.
It's from Chief from Animal Crossing.
Okay.
Courtesy of my brother Cody. Shout out to him for giving me the quote.
Okay.
Beautiful. Animal Crossing.
Very encouraging quote. It's great. Thank you, Cody, for making Cory normal at the beginning of an episode for once.
How dare you?
We want to, once again, thank everyone for listening and supporting. We want to send a congrats out to Laura Stewart, I believe, who was our Xbox gift card giveaway winner for week 2. Week 3 stuff should be posted already. If it's not already, it will be by the time this goes up. It will be a Nintendo Switch gift card, just so you guys are informed. But you guys should probably already know that. So that's our week 3 gift. We're going to keep doing this August Gamer giveaway because we like giving out good stuff, giving out good vibes. Cory and Cody coming in with the very good, encouraging quotes. So that's what we want to do. But with that being said, we're going to move right into the morning announcements. Item number 1, Suicide Squad announced by Rocksteady. Gotham Knights announced by Warner Bros. Montreal. From my understanding, in Gotham Knights, the big bad bat is dead. Is that right?
Bruce Wayne is dead, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be placing like the Court of Owls story. I don't know if you guys have read that graphic novel or anything.
Not a clue.
Nope.
I don't think he's dead in that one, but yeah, they're starting off dead. You play one of 4 characters: Red Hood, Batwoman, Robin, and Nightwing.
Okay.
So it looks really good in my opinion.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I'm excited to see where they go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
got online co-op for the campaign,
Mhm.
which is awesome. What else? It's not taking place in the Arkham verse, which I found very not confusing, but it kind of set, like, if you played Arkham Knight, it kind of seems like Batman dies at the end of that one, so I thought it would take place afterwards. The next game we're talking about takes place after the Arkham Knight game, but this one looks pretty good. I'm excited for it. WB Montreal. They made Arkham Origins, which was kind of like the lesser of those Arkham games, but I'm excited. They've had a long time to work on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get more Arkham-esque games.
Oh, I'm down for them.
Yeah.
Now, with them coming out basically at the same time, do you see them coming together at all, or is it just rights that probably won't see it?
Which one?
Like Suicide Squad? 'Cause that's part of that universe, isn't it?
Suicide Squad is taking place in the Arkhamverse, yeah. Like I said, the Gotham Knights is not. But we'll see. Suicide Squad, it was a CG trailer, which, is a little disappointing because they haven't made a game for 5 years at this point. So I thought I'd see a little more. The concept is really cool. Kill the Justice League. It goes through the entire trailer. Superman shows up. He's holding the guard. You're like, he saved the dude. And then he laser highs him.
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's going to be 4-player co-op online, I believe.
Yeah.
I hope it's not. I hope it still sticks with the story because I think Arkham did that really well throughout the series. They stuck with the story. I hope it's still character driven and story motivated. So
Yeah. Do you think, not that Arkham Knight was a terrible game, but it had a lot of issues as far as some game design with the Batmobile, and then it had some pretty bad port optimization for the PC. It was not playable for a good while. So you think Rocksteady's maybe kind of been, getting themselves in shape on that?
Yeah, for sure. Arkham Knight I think it finished the story really well.
Yeah.
I was no complaints about that, maybe about the Arkham Knight identity, but besides that, it was very, a very good story. There was just too much Batmobile. People had been asking for it, and they threw it in there about 50% of the game, it felt like. Doing puzzles with it where you're like, I could just do this as Batman, but I don't think they're going to have that problem. And we'll see. I don't know. We'll see if they can handle 4 different types of characters.
Yeah.
Looks like it has a little bit of style, a little bit of humor, so that's cool.
Yeah. All right. So we got news item number 2. Sony, they held their state of play. There's a bunch of announcements that came out of that, but Cory, kind of what was your big takeaway from the state of play?
Oh, man, my big takeaway is I think I'm kind of bored with these kind of like showcases.
Yes.
Like, I have a list of every game that was announced, and I was going to talk about them. But now I'm thinking, like, when E3 went away this year because of COVID, every company's doing one, like, every couple weeks.
Yeah.
And it just kind of feels overwhelming.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have been feeling the same way.
I haven't watched.
Yeah, either overwhelming or totally not interested.
Right. Like, the great thing about E3 is everyone did it at the same time, and
Right.
you got those 4 or 5 games that you were ecstatic about, and you could just forget about the rest.
Yeah.
But now, you know, they're showing off this state of play. I don't really care about any of them, and it's like, well, that whole thing felt like a waste.
Yeah.
Now, they did say it was only going to be PS4 games and no big PS5 announcements, but still, you know, I can list off a few of these games. Crash Bandicoot 4 had some information. Hitman 3 was shown off with VR. Braid Anniversary Edition. Star Wars Vader Immortal coming to PSVR. Control DLC with Alan Wake. I mean, these conferences, I guess I look for a couple things when I watch them. I want to be surprised by a game, or I want some, like, really good information about a game I'm interested in already.
Right.
So, and when they've been doing these spread out, it feels like I'm not getting those surprises at all.
Yeah.
You know, this was fine. They showed off good information. I don't really care.
Right.
So,
Especially for predominantly a game generation that's going to be over in about 2 to 3 months.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they still got a big customer base, so they got to keep those people happy. You know, I mean, what? There's 112 million PS4s out in circulation,
Right.
so they just can't drop those people. But
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I understand that. Yeah. One of those things you had mentioned, Control, and so one thing that come out of that was that Control is going to have a next gen upgrade, but it requires buying the Ultimate Edition. I didn't play Control. I didn't have a lot of interest in it. How do you guys feel about got to pay to upgrade to next gen if you have a pre-existing game from a previous gen?
That's just like kind of insulting. Like, why do I have to get the best version of the game to be able to upgrade? Like, I'm already giving you money anyways, no matter what edition it is. Like, I'm supporting you, so why aren't you going to support me?
Yeah.
You know, going into the Xbox One, PS4, that was kind of commonplace. You know, if you wanted that version, you had to buy an entirely new game. But so many companies now are like, hey, you get a free upgrade. It feels kind of like a setback for Control to be like, well, you got to pay for it.
Right.
I'm sure they put more work into it, but, you know, as a consumer, you're not looking at that. You're looking at, hey, I'm getting these upgrades for free from all these other games. Why aren't you doing it, Control?
Right. Right.
So
I think that's a reasonable give and take of the landscape, though, right? Like you mentioned, when you were going from, let's say 360 PS3 to 1.4, then yeah, you may have had to buy the game again. But also during those times, microtransactions weren't as pervasive as they are now.
true.
So it's kind of the landscape of, hey, we want microtransactions, and it's like, okay, well, we don't want to repay for games when you upgrade these generations, especially since it seems like the upgrades are becoming more and more marginal.
Right.
You know?
Did
So-
they even say what it's going to be? Is it just going to be like 4K throughout and 60 frames? I mean,
Yeah, I don't.
they haven't even announced what the
Yeah.
upgrade's going to be.
Yeah, and most of that stuff, I mean, they're developing these on computers. They're mostly working with the best textures already.
I mean, pretty much they're just porting that better version they
Yeah.
already had on their PCs
Yeah.
that they worked on.
Instead
Like,
of
hey, here's the new
compressing
one.
those textures down for 1080p,
Right.
they're just compressing them for 4K.
Okay.
Yeah. Item number 3. Ninja returns to Twitch. Dr. Disrespect, he returns to streaming. And Shroudy Boy, he decides to go back home, and he also returns to Twitch. So a lot of moving and shaking in the streamerverse going on here. What'd you guys think about this? You guys check out Disrespect's return or anything like that?
I viewed Shroud real quick because I just follow him and I saw he was like online, and at one point he had 500,000 people watching him.
Yeah.
So I mean that's pretty insane to have that much of a following for something that is so it's easier to get into than being like the general famous and stuff. And I think it's cool that he has all these people that are going to be with him no matter where it goes.
Right. Yeah, I think I read somewhere that even when he had left and went to Mixer, his Twitch profile still had like one of the 5 most followers on the platform.
Yeah, like right now he's at like 7.2 million.
Yeah.
That's insane. What game does he play?
Oh, he jumps around quite a lot.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's playing a lot of Valorant right now.
Okay.
That's his go-to.
Because like a lot of streamers, they stick with one game, right?
Yeah,
build the audience through Call of Duty or Fortnite or stuff like
which
that.
is pretty much what I'm doing. Like I mostly just stream Dead by Daylight because that's where I got my most.
That's where you get your audience. People interested in that game want to watch it. Okay.
Yeah.
But being that big, he has so many viewers. It really doesn't matter too much, but he does still stick to the popular games.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for Shroud though, it's mostly he sticks to shooters because that's like his skill.
Competitive shooters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he was a pro CS:GO player for a while, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, he was doing the PUBG thing, and he's just moving on to whatever it is. I don't think he plays Fortnite that much, maybe a little bit.
No, yeah,
but
he played it just a little bit because he doesn't like third person.
Yeah.
How about you, Jeremy? You checked any of them out?
Nope.
You're Dr. Disrespect fan, right?
I am a Dr. Disrespect fan. I'm gonna wait though.
And he still doesn't know, right?
He still doesn't know.
I think that's what he's commenting
That's what
on.
he said.
Still has no clue.
Still has no clue as to why.
I did see a clip. He's like, "It's a lawyer issue. Let the lawyers figure it out."
Ooh.
I'm like, okay. I mean, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's what they're there for.
I mean, I'm not surprised it's gotten to that point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have news item number 4. Splinter Cell, or as we all know him as, Sam Fisher will be a playable operator for Rainbow Six Siege. This is really cool. I don't play Rainbow Six Siege at all, but I think it's really cool to include him. Everyone's been wanting a new Splinter Cell game, and they're like, we're not going to give you that because we don't have original ideas yet, but we're going to put him in Rainbow Six Siege. So there you go.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Rainbow Six Siege is a great game.
Yeah.
It feels like he fits perfect for that universe. I know he's way more stealthy than what that universe is, but he's got the skills to be in it. It's just funny how they keep putting him in games besides his own.
Yeah.
He was on that mobile game. Like it was part of like a E3 conference last year where they announced him as like a character in a mobile game. It's like, do you think they're just trying to make this like, hey, here's Sam Fisher and that will, feed your appetite? Or is it like gearing him up towards his next game? Like they're making a Splinter Cell,
I think
right?
it's gearing him up towards his next game.
Okay, they're just kind of bringing him back in
I
the
think
limelight
we're going to get a next gen Splinter Cell.
We don't want you to forget about Sam Fisher, so we're throwing him in these things, and then we're going to announce one.
Right.
Has Siege done this before? Is this the first?
I don't think they've had guests.
Yeah,
before.
I don't think they've had, at least not someone like Sam Fisher. They might have included maybe certain characters from like, I don't know, like Ghost Recon maybe or something as operators, but they aren't like people you would really, really know unless you were kind of.
I think they were talking about adding Raymond.
Yeah, they weren't. They
weren't.
weren't.
The guy with no arms.
That was
Raymond, the cartoon.
Oh.
Yeah. They weren't. Terrible.
My humor is so underappreciated here.
Just a terrible joke.
So underappreciated here.
Cody, you need to come and save this guy. Because you gave him a great quote. Now you got to give him good jokes. Speaking of, but just quickly on that, I would also appreciate if they decided to take Ghost Recon in the direction of Rainbow Six Siege. Because it's supposed to be a tactical shooter, and it's not anymore.
Have you played Rainbow Six Siege at all?
I played very, very little of it.
Just didn't stick with you? You're not really an online multiplayer guy as much, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
David, have you?
I've never touched it.
Okay. It's not my type of game, but I actually got into it for a little while.
Yeah. It's
really fun.
It's a really good,
really fun.
Really good made game.
Throughout.
They straightened that thing out because at launch it wasn't good, but they've made it a really, really good game.
Yeah, it's a game that's been going on for 4 years now.
Yep.
Still putting stuff into there. I know they've talked about going free to play next gen, which I think would be awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. News item number 5. A couple of nice little things here with Ghost of Tsushima. First thing being that Ghost of Tsushima is the highest rated game of the entire generation.
Explain.
So this takes into account both critic meta scores or Metacritic scores. So from different, IGN or some place like that, as well as user or player scores. Combined and aggregated together, they have the highest. That means that it is rated higher than something as, say, a Last of Us 2, rated higher than something as, I don't know, let's say maybe a Control or, perhaps a Days Gone.
Let me stop you right there. This is a nonsense statistic.
Okay.
All right? It's nonsense.
Okay.
We do a little thing on here called What's the Meta, where I talk about 0 out of 10 reviews for Red Dead Redemption 2.
Right.
Like, all the user reviews are showing me is, like, this game doesn't do anything to, like, rock the boat. Enough people played it, and they're like, oh, it doesn't have this controversial thing or this thing in there, so let's give it a pretty high score. I love Ghost of Tsushima. I think it's an amazing game, but, I mean, the user reviews should be kind of tossed out, in my opinion. It means nothing to me.
Okay.
There's no value in it for me.
Okay.
I'm sorry to...
But just to let you know that the last time I checked, I believe Madden 20 sits at an 85 for critics. So if you want to trust just the critics, you go ahead and do that.
Wait, which Madden?
Madden 20.
Read the other thing about Ghost.
Okay, yeah. So the other thing is that Ghost of Tsushima, in an announcement to further, placate or, show goodwill towards those that gave it those high ratings, they've announced that they're adding a free online co-op mode. It's going to be happening in the fall.
Yep.
I think this is awesome.
I think it's awesome as well.
Yes.
I mean, it's incredible. They didn't announce this before the game was released. They didn't say, "Hey, we're going to have this co-op mode." They just, when it was ready, they're going to announce it.
Yeah.
It's an extra thing to an already excellent single player game.
Yeah.
Looks like it could be fun.
Yes.
They're adding a little bit of the mystical to it. They had a very, very short trailer. It's like a 4-player, different classes, and they showed off a demon. The regular game was very grounded in terms there was no, not
a lot of fantasy elements.
Not fantasy at all, really, except for those foxes,
Right.
But yeah, I think it's really cool that they're going this direction with the online, where you can kind of play around and do what you want. So very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a good game.
It is
such a good game. Highest rated game of the generation. News item number 6. Fortnite was removed from iOS and the Google Play Store. And it seems like Epic Games and Apple are going to war a little bit.
Yes.
So let's see. We have the Empire versus the Empire, because they're both pretty terrible, at least in my opinion.
Right.
Apple a little bit worse. I say this as I record our thing on an Apple MacBook. So you guys, what do you feel about this? What's going on?
Well, first, I didn't even know Fortnite was on there.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah?
So there's that. But it seems kind of odd. It's breaking in just money left and right.
Well, I think that's the thing, is they're raking in so much money, Apple wants to make sure they get their cut.
Right.
Which I believe, from reading the stories, is like 30% of all in-app purchases.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Epic doesn't want to pay that.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous, just because you're hosting their game on your platform.
Right.
Yeah.
I can accept taking money in, like 5 or 10% or something, sure. But, 30 is obnoxious.
Right.
What's your opinion on this, Jeremy? Because I got a little more to say, but I kind of want to hear yours.
I don't like either company. So if one destroys the other, I'm fine with it, to be honest. I think Epic has this thing of not wanting to pay for some of those in-app purchases. At least they want that percentage to go down a little bit. And I think Tim Cook said that the CEO was looking for preferential treatment because of those things like that. Well, you have to look at the way that Epic runs their platform, right? Like, they charge developers less on the Epic Games Store, and they charge them even less if they're using their own, engine to create their games. So they're kind of looking for, I guess, the same thing to some extent. They're looking at it as, well, we have this game that people on your devices like to play, and it could be the reason why they keep your device or they use your device longer or may get another one or something like that. So why are we also having to pay this premium, And I kind of get it.
I mean, I think in the pursuit of money, Epic has become the good guy.
Yeah.
Like, they're taking on Apple, I said Epic, right? Epic's becoming the good guy.
Yeah.
They're taking on Apple.
Yeah.
And this will obviously help Epic, but it's also going to help every developer, every small-time developer that's trying to make money and they're getting 30% taken off. If that number gets lowered, everyone wins.
Right.
Same thing with making their own Epic store, like you were just saying.
Yeah.
They made it to where the developers were taking a lot more of those profits.
Yep.
Now, of course, they're making so much money, but in making that money, they're turning into the good guys. Are they a great company?
No.
Nah. But when you want to make money and you undercut the other guys, it's helping everyone right now.
Right.
Now, who's to say once they actually do it, all those things, and they can jack up their prices and do whatever they want and become the big bad guys, but they're fighting the fight for the small guys in pursuit of their own.
Right.
So.
Right. This is Vader trying to slay Palpatine, at least in my view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Wow.
Star Trek.
Star Wars.
God bless you.
Number 7. Cyberpunk held their Night City Wire, which is their kind of, I guess, showing or presentations of different things that are going to be in Cyberpunk. This game that we all want to play, but it's taken its sweet time to come out. So, did you guys watch it? What you guys grab from it?
I didn't see it.
I've never heard of this.
You've never heard of it?
No, I have.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So, have you watched? Did you watch it?
The second one, no.
Okay, well, I'll go over it real quick. They did like a little music section with music in the game. That was kind of boring. A couple other things they did, though. They showed off some of the guns, a couple of the different types of guns you can have. You can have power guns, tech guns, smart guns. Smart guns are kind of like in that Titanfall, where you shoot and the bullets kind of follow you. That was Titanfall, right? I'm making up something. The smart pistol, right?
Yeah,
you got
yeah.
the smart pistol where you shoot it and the bullets.
Yeah.
So Cyberpunk has like a whole tree of guns that are like tech, a whole tree that are smart and power, and there's a bunch more melee weapons. Sounded really cool.
Yeah.
And also, I really like what they were showing with the life paths. So I think Dragon Age Origins had tried this. Are you a Dragon Age guy?
Yeah.
So they started off where you could pick like a couple different paths to start your life, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Cyberpunk's doing the same thing. It looks amazing. You have 3 different kinds. You have Nomad, which means you're starting off outside of Night City and you're kind of in that desert area and that's your family. There's the Street Kid, where you're poor, you grew up in Night City. And there's the Corporo, where you climb the corporate ladder and you're in that kind of like lifestyle. And the way they described it, like each one of these things will affect you throughout the game. They obviously start you differently, and each of these things are going to give you like perks. If you're a street kid, when you talk to these gangs, they already know you. You know them. Same thing with corporate. When you talk to the big wigs, you already understand that lingo. You're going to get different dialogue choices. You're going to get different choices in general, I believe. So that to me sounds really cool. I'm very excited for Cyberpunk. I think you're very excited as well. Just looks cool.
Yeah.
Same thing though. These little conferences, I'm not as excited for. Like I said, I watched this 4 or 5 days later. When I had a little bit of free time. Usually, I would wake up, set my alarm, like I gotta watch this. But I'm just ready for these games to come out.
Yeah, that's especially with Cyberpunk. That's why I'm almost kind of like giving myself a blackout on it. I just want the game.
Yeah.
Like I just want to get my hands on the game and play it. So,
do you think it can live up to the hype?
No. It won't live up to the hype, but it could still be a fantastic game. I think it's going to be an exceptional game, and it's not going to live up to the hype because the gaming industry, for some reason, loves to do this stuff, i.e. No Man's Sky. Build things up to these kind of mythic ideas of what it's going to be.
This is different, though. This is from a developer who's shown they can do that.
Right, but part of the reason The Witcher 3, I believe, was great is because no one expected The Witcher 3 to be as good as it was.
Right.
Especially if you look at The Witcher 2.
Right.
Yeah.
I did not like Witcher 2.
Yeah.
But I like Witcher 3, so.
Okay.
I'm still excited for this game, though.
Very unfortunate. But yes, Cyberpunk 2077, just bring it out already. But take your time, though. I don't want to rush you guys because you make great games. And last news item number 8, Xbox, they announced that the Series X will release November 2020. And with that, also announced that Halo Infinite, that they had just showed at their presentation, that had a holiday 2020 tag underneath it, is now delayed until 2021. And guys, any thoughts on this, what has become pretty useless company in the realm of gaming? Any thoughts on any of this? On the Xbox being announced for November of this year, as well as Halo being delayed?
You're the big Xbox guy, Jeremy. What do you think?
Okay.
Let's hear yours first.
Oh, okay. Cool. So the Xbox being announced till November 2020. That would be cool if they had games coming out for it. But since they don't,
who cares?
No one who cares. Halo Infinite being delayed until 2021. Okay. That kind of came out of nowhere. If you read their statement, they talked about how they've had a bunch of challenges, one of them being COVID, having to work from home, slowing down development. It's like, yeah, cool. That also happened to everyone else.
Right.
So it also happened to everyone else, and you've been showing this game in the past few weeks to a month as if it's coming out holiday this year. So you want to tell me what happened between the presentation you showed that said holiday 2020 and 3 weeks later to when it has to be delayed to next year? What happened in the 3 weeks? Because we've been in COVID lockdown at least since March.
Right.
So COVID didn't just happen in those 3 weeks.
They showed it off. That's what happened.
They showed it off.
And
people said this looks terrible.
Yes, in terms of graphics.
Yeah.
Everyone hated the graphics. We had talked about it. We were pretty excited for it.
Yeah.
We thought it looked good as a game, but
Yeah.
I can understand those people that said the graphics weren't up to par, especially when you're touting the Xbox Series X as the strongest console. Halo, show us that you're the strongest console by, ray tracing or amazing graphics, and it didn't have that. So I think the backlash is what got that game delayed. Which,
okay,
in the end, will be the best thing for Halo, right?
It depends, though, because people didn't like the way it looked, but I saw it less as a graphical issue or more of an art style issue.
You've seen that meme, right?
I mean, I guess.
The meme with the alien, they're putting his face on everything, No. It looks horrible. But, yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Okay. I guess that's obviously what happened.
I mean, I just think the thing is, obviously this isn't good for Xbox, but it'll be the best thing for Halo when it comes out, because you don't want to release a game that's not good. Even though you can update the games now in this day and age, you still want the best game possible. And Halo deserves that,
Right.
Even though, how long have they had to work on this?
Years.
It feels like a long
They've had years.
time.
And Halo deserves that. Okay, cool. Doesn't the Xbox deserve to have a game that sells a system?
They don't care about selling systems. They've said that. Like, that was a quote from a couple days ago. They don't care. They just want Game Pass, man. That's it.
Okay. I can understand that. You want the user base installed for your subscription. But here's the thing. If you become a company that becomes synonymous with poor quality and poor decisions, people eventually aren't going to trust you, whether it's a device or a subscription service. So how much do they do this? And it also kind of betrays the ethos of Xbox.
You got to weigh. You said poor decisions and poor quality, right?
Right.
A poor decision is to show off Halo, then 3 weeks later delay it, correct?
Right.
Poor quality is to release it in the state it is now. So they're weighing poor decisions and poor quality and seeing which one they should kind of feed, and they decide to go with the poor decision because they don't want poor quality. They need that to be a high quality game next year.
Yeah. That may be what they're thinking. Maybe.
I just think they shouldn't have put themselves in that pair of shoes.
Well, it's happened already this year. Like The Last of Us 2, they showed it off, gave a February 21st release date, and then a week later was May.
Right.
And then when May was coming around, okay, June.
Right.
And I think Cyberpunk's done it a couple times where it's hey, we showed off something, it's coming this date, then a month later, sorry.
Right.
It happens.
Yeah,
It sucks that it's happening while a console's coming out. Because,
Yeah.
like you said, what's selling this console?
But also the difference is those were, in each of those cases, those were months.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about Xbox November 2020, Halo 2021.
Which will
And
be
they
next
haven't-
November, probably.
Yeah.
That's when Halo always comes out.
Right.
So, a whole year.
A whole year.
Yeah. And that's when I'll buy an Xbox.
Right. So that's our last news item, but it kind of extends into the conversation we wanted to have for our roundtable. So usually we talk about, 3 news items that had our interest and what we wanted to, let's talk about these things. But we were thinking, it'd be nice if our roundtable turned into a nice little debate. And we were having this conversation because we were talking about the Xbox stuff and how a useless company has such such a fall from grace. And we were trying to consider, what is the best Xbox game console actually, right? Like, and I had an idea, Cory had an idea, David had an idea. And so we kind of want to have that little roundtable debate / discussion about what is the best Xbox game console. Now, I'm going to toss it to Cory first because he's been coming in here with a bunch of bravado. just a bunch of bravado and cockiness. And so I'm going to let him go ahead and get his point across that he believes he has. And then, me and David will contribute to the conversation, i.e. make actual thoughtful contributions. Then we'll leave it up to the listeners to kind of decide, hey, what do you guys think? What's the best Xbox game console? So, Cory, we have 3 game consoles here. We have the original Xbox, we have the Xbox 360, and we have the Xbox One, unfortunately. Right. So, of these 3 game consoles, which one for you is the best Xbox game console?
All right, so here's the deal. We're not trying to fight each other. We're going to debate, obviously, because we have different opinions. Right. Oh, okay. We're going to try to find the first, second, and third best consoles in order. Okay. We're a team here, guys, okay? I kind of want to know how we're going to do it, though. Are we doing strictly like, hey, what this console did for the time, nostalgia? Are we going based off the games that it had, the contributions to the industry? Like, is it just all of this?
It's an amalgamation of all of it.
That's a big word.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just go over this. I think as a group, we can safely put Xbox One as the last, correct? Are we all feeling secure in that?
I'm okay with that.
Absolutely.
Right. Do we want to have any nice words about the Xbox One?
The Xbox One is ranked 4th.
4th? What's that mean?
Yeah. So it's ranked 4th because 3rd is whatever. It's just blank, right?
It's
saving just blank.
We're saving it.
So we're debating 1st and 2nd. 3rd is blank. 4th is Xbox One.
Xbox One has not been a great console, but if one thing could have saved it, I think making Game Pass is one of the biggest things that has happened to gaming in, 5-10 years, and it should be commended for Game Pass. Yeah? No?
It's cool.
Yes.
Cool. All right, let's just move on. Xbox One in 4th out of 3.
Correct.
Fractions. Okay, so here's the deal, guys. I think the Xbox 360, without a doubt, is the best console that Xbox has made. I think it's probably in the top 5 consoles of all time. So, here's why I think it. The games. It had so many great games on that console. I'm going to go to Metacritic real quick. Not the user reviews. Okay. I don't trust user reviews. Okay. But let me just say this. Xbox 360 had 54 games rated 90 or above. I would say at a 90 rating, you're considered an amazing, excellent type of game, correct?
Sure.
We can all agree with that.
Sure.
I know we already have Xbox One as 4th place, but that has 21 games rated 90 or above. Not so great.
Yeah, it's not even half.
Yeah, not even half. The original Xbox, God bless it, had 30, which is pretty good. Not bad at all. I will say this about the original Xbox. 16 of those games are sports or racing, which I think really hurts its cause. I was going down the list, ESPN, Madden, FIFA. So in terms of games, I think it's without a doubt the Xbox 360 is the best console out of all of them. And that's why I buy a console. That's why I play a console. I play it for the game strictly, and Xbox 360 in my mind had the best one. Move it around. Someone else? Have I swayed you, David?
I'm still...
You're feeling it a little bit, though, right? Okay. Jeremy, do you have anything to say?
Let's see here. I have to double check the numbers
You're gonna fact check me?
I have to double check.
While you're checking those, I'll actually
there.
give you some more numbers. I actually went further than that.
Okay.
I looked at every game rated 80 or above.
Okay.
Which 80 I would consider is, it's a game worth buying.
Yeah.
Right. If you're into that game, the Xbox had around 200, a little more than 200, which, to me, that's 200 potential games you could buy on that console.
Right.
Obviously, you can buy games lower than that, but that's like 200 good games. Xbox 360 had over 400, so over double. And like I said, I buy consoles for the games. Xbox 360 delivered good to amazing games throughout its entire life cycle. It also sold them at most for Xbox as a console. I don't think sales really matter in terms of, hey, this console was better than the other, but it kind of does speak to the fact that people wanted this console.
Right.
It sold 86 million. The original Xbox sold 24 million. I think people saw the Xbox 360 as the PlayStation killer. Beforehand, people didn't want the Xbox because they had a PlayStation 2. That was a great console. But this Xbox 360 was the one that's like, oh, we want Xbox now.
Okay.
You got stats, Jeremy? You're looking...
Well, I just have one stat. I just have one stat. You mentioned how many units were sold of the 360?
I don't like where you're going with this.
Okay? How many of them?
86 million.
86 million. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Do you know how much, like as far as money, that is? Like any kind of idea what Microsoft would have brought in on that?
I have no clue.
Let's say it was, I don't know, it had to be billions, right?
Maybe.
Billions, right? Well, there's like this one number in my mind, 1.15 billion is what the Red Ring of Death failure cost Microsoft during the Xbox 360 saga generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So when I think about a game system that's a good game system, I think about the games. I think about what it brings to the industry, right? And I also try to think about what that game is synonymous with, or what that console is synonymous with, right? So with the 64, it's really synonymous with not only things like, Mario 64, but also things like GoldenEye and, kind of bringing in a lot of different innovations in first person, You think about Sega or the other older Nintendo systems, right? They have a thing that's in common with them. When I think about the Xbox 360, the thing that comes in my mind the most, because when I think about the original Xbox, that's when I think about Halo.
Of course, yes.
When I think about the Xbox 360, I think about the Red Ring of Death. I think about failure. Right?
I would agree as well.
So there's no way for me to say that a console that represents failure somehow is the best console that a company has made. To me, the best Xbox console was the original because of what did it epitomize? It epitomized power. The Xbox is short for extreme box. And the Xbox at the time, when it came out, pushed in regards to technology and gaming. That was its purpose. And it did so very effectively, right? The original Xbox had 8 to 10 gigs of storage in its hard drive. Every other system's using 32 megabyte memory cards, including the PlayStation 2.
Oh, it was amazing having that hard drive.
8 to 10 gigs in a hard drive.
Right.
You were never going to take up enough space in the Xbox, no matter how much you played it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You want to talk about games that revolutionized? Halo 2, which sold over 8 million copies on the original Xbox, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the first one, obviously revolutionized first-person shooters,
right.
And Halo 2 took it to a next level. That's Xbox.
Halo 2, was the online game.
Yes, you're right.
In which you didn't even mention yet, Xbox was Xbox Live. That's when it came out. And Xbox Live, I could argue, is the biggest thing to happen to consoles in ever.
Yeah.
I know PC had online gameplay, but Halo 2 helped cement it for consoles.
Right. You mentioned in your stats that 16 of those highly rated games of the 30, I think, for the original Xbox were sports games. I don't know if you've played sports games a lot, but they are nowhere near the heyday of the golden age that was those Xbox 360 sports games.
Right.
Madden, NBA, they were all at their pinnacle during the Xbox generation, and they played best on that system.
Yeah,
and because you had the hard drive, you didn't have to worry about saving your franchise or your player or anything else you could do. Everything was right there, and the experience was great because the box was made to be extreme and powerful. That is supposed to symbolize what Microsoft Xbox is. That's why the Xbox One sucks so much. It's because it's an underpowered box. You know, this is made by Microsoft, the computer company.
Right.
We expected them to bring computer cutting-edge things to these systems. When you look at, and here's another thing I'll give you, you look at even the Xbox One and the Xbox 360, you know, they actually have dedicated graphics cards. Xbox One has an APU, so it just has an integrated graphic card in the CPU. This is Microsoft.
Right.
So when I look at it and I think about what game best epitomizes the Xbox brand and Microsoft, it's the original Xbox. It's a beast. It can take a bullet. It's the best. It's just the best.
David, do you want to weigh in here?
Yeah, I'll chime in.
Okay.
So I'm just going to start with the Xbox One. The reason it is so bad, in my opinion, is there's been so many different versions of the system. Like, I have the original still and it works fine, but like, you shouldn't have to put out so many different versions of it. Especially being the computer company that they are, they should have the dedicated graphic card in there. They shouldn't have an APU, you said?
Yeah.
Like, why are they undermining what they can push out? Systematically, you would think Xbox would just shatter PlayStation, because PlayStation is going to have to go somewhere else for all these pieces for the system and everything, but they don't do that. And I didn't even own an original Xbox because I was the PS2 fanboy. That's all I needed. And I didn't get an Xbox until 360. And I loved the 360, and I only had the one Red Ring of Death, and I had to get a whole new system. I didn't have all my files and stuff, whatever, so that was a bummer. But I'm with Jeremy on this one, being the Xbox, the original is where it is at, because not only did it revolutionize everything with like the Halo 2 and Xbox Live and stuff like that, it didn't have as many versions of either 360 or One, and it didn't just crap on itself.
I have a hard time though with the argument being like it was the original and it like embodied, you know, with Halo and stuff. Because when we go do these other systems, like, does that mean the Nintendo is going to be like the best console? Like, I think we really got to look at for the time. And Xbox was great. Like, I really do think Xbox is like just right below Xbox 360 because I loved it. You know, Halo 1 and Halo 2 are two all-time great games.
Right.
But man, it's really hard to find a lot of other games that you can consider like all-time greats. You had Jade Empire, you had Knights of the Old Republic, you had the original Fable on there. They had some good games, but it was like this handful of games. You know, Xbox 360 has just dozens and dozens of great games. And, you know, the hard drive and the Xbox Live going on the Xbox original, you know, those were huge innovations. Xbox 360 had a few innovations. They introduced achievements, which, you know, from your perspective, you might think that's not a good thing, but it had a huge impact on the industry.
That dragged in so many people, myself included, for a while.
I mean, people play games longer just for achievements and trophies, and I believe Steam also did something like that, right, with achievements and cards. Like, that's hugely innovative. And I also believe that it helped start the indie movement, because Xbox did the Xbox Live Arcade, Summer of Arcade. They let smaller developers that were usually stuck on PC go to consoles. And I don't think we'd see as many indies today if it wasn't for that initial Summer of Arcade where they put out Braid and Castle Crashers. And it said, hey, we accept the smaller guys. And that's been huge for the industry as well. So, I don't know. The Xbox Live is probably the biggest thing, but Xbox 360 has it, in my opinion, as well, with the achievements and the indie games.
Right. I mean, the other thing I would like to contend with the original Xbox is that its lifetime was compressed compared to its competitors. Mm-hmm. And when you compare its competitors, the only system that outsold it was the PlayStation 2. It outsold the Dreamcast and the GameCube.
Okay.
Even with the compressed lifetime.
Right.
So I think that it came in and made its splash mostly because of the power. And I think that's what that's what the company and Bill Gates and all their original idea was we are going to create, and that's what they're going back to now, right?
Yeah.
We're going to have Xbox Series S is going to be the most powerful gaming console, right? Well, what sold originally was that idea, was that ethos. And then they forgot it because they found out that a lot of people watch Netflix on their Xbox machine, so they just made their Xbox One a Netflix gaming box or a streaming box.
Which is literally what I use mine for. Is
Right.
totally Netflix.
Right. So
And they made it more expensive than the PS4.
Exactly.
And have Connect.
So, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Definitely, I think the biggest contributions, if you think of the 360, is that the achievement and a lot of the expansion they did with Xbox Live, including the arcades and providing a platform
Party
for
chats
indies.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
With the Xbox Live.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of innovations there.
I mean, it's tough. I love the Xbox. That's one of my favorite consoles. I have so much nostalgia for that and the GameCube growing up.
Right.
Those are the two systems I grew up on. And I think it's a fantastic console. Halo 1 and Halo 2 are two of my top, 20 games of all time. But, man, it's just so hard to argue about the longevity of the Xbox 360 and how many games it had.
Right.
And it took out the PlayStation. I know the PlayStation 3 ended up selling more than it at the end of its life cycle.
Right.
But I would have no question saying Xbox 360 won that generation. Even more than the Wii, which outsold that as well. But Xbox 360 was the console. Everyone had it. Everyone played games on that system.
The only thing I would contend with that as a final point for the Xbox game, the original being, is that you mentioned all the things it had, right?
Right.
Eventually, PlayStation got those things.
It did, which kind of hurts the Xbox 360.
Yeah, but the PlayStation 2 will never be as powerful or have as much hard drive space than the original Xbox. If you take those two systems now and put them side by side, the Xbox still beats it there.
Right.
If you take the idea of, heck, even the original PlayStation 3, remember at release, played PlayStation 2 games, right? So the PlayStation 3 technically has better backwards compatibility than the Xbox 360.
Right.
If you take and compare them, the differences get very, very minute as the generation lifetime progresses.
Yeah, here's the thing. The 54 games rated 90 or above, I have no doubt that probably 40 of them are third party.
Yeah.
They came out on PS3. You could argue PS3 is just as good as the Xbox 360 in terms of games. But, I mean, to fight that point about, those games came to PS3, at the time, though, that's still relevant, I believe.
Yeah.
BioShock came out for the Xbox 360 first. That's an old-timer game, And you could only play it on the 360 for
Elder
a
Scrolls
year or
Oblivion
so.
came out for Xbox
And you
first.
could only play it on Xbox 360 for that, first year or two?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big deal at the time. Now we're looking back, they've got the same games. But at the time, man, you had to have an Xbox 360 because Oblivion was the best game on the market. BioShock's a great game. The Mass Effect series was only on 360 to start off.
Yeah.
And yes, they all came to PS3 eventually. But, man, at the time, that was the console.
Yeah.
And the Xbox wasn't the console. It was PS2. PS2 was the big console. David, you said you played PS2.
Yep.
I didn't even like the PS2, but everyone just knew that was the big one. And we're not arguing that, but it just feels like Xbox 360 was it. It was the time of the Xbox 360. But we're here to rank them. So, and I'm not going to be mad if Xbox goes higher. Because like I said, I love the console. I really do. Like I said, the hard drive was amazing, man. You're putting music on there. You're playing custom music while you're going through, games. It's a great console. So let's do it, guys.
All right.
I mean, Xbox One in fourth.
Yes.
Now we really have to take down first and second here. Don't forget, this will probably be our easiest one, too, because Nintendo has 5 consoles, 6 consoles, PlayStation has 4, so what are we going with?
So,
it's tough, man. I know you like the Xbox, but I know you can see the Xbox 360 for what it is, and I can feel the same way. The Red Ring of Death, man, is...
See, that's what does it for me.
Without that...
Right, literally,
without it,
the 360 wins.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think without even thought, it wins without that. That was such a big thing for me, though. Again, I know people that will not buy an Xbox again because of that.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. They lost the trust.
Yeah. So I'm contending. I think I'm going to double down here.
Okay.
I'm going to put original Xbox first, Xbox 360 in any iteration, in any version second, Space third, and then Xbox One fourth. I think that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with them. But it's just, it's like a race. Like, the original came in at a minute, and the thing's in at a minute and like 3 seconds.
Yeah. It's almost like a 1A, 1B type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. Like I said, I'm sticking with the Xbox 360. I think that's number one. But
Yeah.
Red Ring of Death is, I had 2 or 3, I believe. It's horrible, but I still think it's the best console overall. But we have spoken as a group.
Yeah.
And I'll accept that. Xbox, I love Xbox.
Yeah.
It's a shame Xbox One has been so bad because I've really gone into Sony territory. I'm a Sony fanboy now.
Yeah.
PS4 is like my console. So,
yeah.
Quick, I know this has already been a super long segment. Xbox Series X, where do we think this is slotting? Third for sure?
I have
That's
it.
where it's going to start.
Yeah, it's going to start third.
Third already.
Yeah.
Easy
I
third.
don't know if it can reach those heights of those first 2 consoles, in my opinion.
No.
So,
No.
all right, well, this was fun.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Yeah. That was it for the roundtable. You guys let us know what you thought of that segment, that little debate we had. You like more topics like that because we plan on doing more of those. And what's your rankings there? You guys can just do 1, 2, 3. You don't have to do 4. I have such a low opinion of the Xbox One. I can't make it a 3, so I have to make it a 4. But let us know. We're going to take a quick break here. Most of the time, I think we go right into what we're playing, but I think we're going to take a quick, and we will.
I'm tired. It's been long.
Yeah. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with more thoughts and players. This level of thoughts and players is brought to you by us. If you've been enjoying the podcast so far, please show your support and let us know by subscribing to the podcast, following us on the socials, and contributing to community surveys and questions around our community segments. Doing so will help the podcast grow, keep our content engaging, and most importantly, make sure your voice is heard. Thanks for tuning in, and now back to the show. And we are back with more thoughts and players. And we're going to be moving on to the What You Playing segment because we wanted to have that little debate there, so you guys enjoyed that. But we're going to talk about what we've been playing. So, who would like to go first about what they've been playing?
I'll go.
Okay.
As everyone knows, I'm always playing Dead by Daylight, but that's what I've been streaming, and I hit affiliate with it, so I feel like that's a good achievement for me.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have 3 subscribers so far, so, if anybody wants to come visit me.
Guys, the link is in the show notes.
Always. And then, of course, Eterna. I've really gotten into music again lately, and I was recently given a piano. So I got that tuned up. Now I'm learning how to play piano again.
Sweet.
Because I took it in college, surprisingly, because I needed to go for full credit for insurance or whatever. So it was fun. So now that I have one in my own house, I've been trying to learn to play Taylor Swift songs, surprisingly.
Okay.
Not. But I finally got to play The Last of Us Part 2, and I loved it. I see why a lot of people debated about the game and hated the game, and I just feel they were kind of like closed-minded for hating it for what you had to do in the game. I still don't want to really spoil anything.
Right.
But 11 out of 10 for me. I know I said originally it'd be a 12, but
Yeah.
And then I played a new craze game, Fall Guys. It's quite fun.
Okay.
You don't have to spend hours on it. You can go and play for 20 minutes, call it a day if you want. What about you, Cory?
Oh, okay, yeah. I've been playing a couple different games, trying out Battletoads that just came out a couple days ago. I've been playing Fall Guys as well. We'll be talking about that at Indie Spotlight. And there's a game I've not been playing because I just beat it, Ghost of Tsushima.
There you go.
Man.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much. Man, I love that game. It's an excellent game.
Yeah.
The set pieces at the end of Act 2 were amazing. Real battles, and you kind of feel like they're big battles, which I always like. The end of Act 3, which there's 3 acts in the game, man, it was just it was a beautiful ending. Very emotional, very well told story. Jin Sakai is a great protagonist, someone that you root for, The that new co-op version I'm waiting to play. But until then, I'm going to put it aside. But yeah, just a great game. If you haven't checked it out, buy the game. It's a great open world game.
Yes.
So do it.
Yes.
Shia LaBeouf, do it.
What was your end time for the game? How long did it take you?
They don't keep your time in that game.
Oh, don't they?
Yeah, which is kind of
Wow.
weird because like every game does it. If I had to guess, I would guess around 30 hours.
So it's a decent long
But here's the thing, like you can make it as long or as short as you want. Like Act 3, I was ready for the story to be done. You know, it's kind of got interesting. I'm like, I want to finish this game.
Right.
I would say that took me like 3 hours. And I think Act 2 could have taken me about 3 hours. But the game's so beautiful. The world is just, it's not explorable, I would say, but you want to just ride around in it.
Right,
You know, see
yeah.
what's around that spot. You know, you're not finding all these crazy things, but it's a beautiful game. You see these little side missions, you do them. It could be a shorter game for sure. I would say around 15 to 20 hours, but I got 30 out of it, I think.
Okay.
Sweet. Yeah.
Now, Jeremy, you.
Yes, me. I have not been playing Ghosts, but I can't wait to jump back into it. I kind of wanted to get some things, other games out of the way before I really kind of just threw all my time into that. So the games I have been playing, first is NCAA Football 14, which is the last NCAA football game ever made. The last, I would say, pretty decent football game ever made from EA. So I've been playing that, building up my program at Georgia State. Having a lot of fun there. It's really easy for me to dump time into that. At one point, that was the only game I had for my 360, and that's all I played.
Nice.
Other game I've been playing, going back to 360 a bit, Virtua Tennis 3. I really enjoy tennis games. Have I ever played tennis before? No. Don't really have a lot of interest in playing tennis in real life. But it's something about tennis video games that always gets me going. I love them. So I played that a little bit, roundly got my ass whooped by some dude that was ranked maybe 4 spots higher than me. It's hard to be the best tennis player in the world, you know. So I tried that. That wasn't working well. But then I also jumped into the Division 2. Now, I really enjoyed the first Division. Probably a couple hundred hours into it. It's not a well-made game, but it has some things in it. It's a third-person tactical shooter. That's my thing. And the Division 2 improves on basically every aspect of that game. The Division 2 is a well-made game.
Okay.
So I've been playing a little bit of that. I'm going to definitely put some more time into that. I was playing Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. I wanted to get into that to get prepared for when the next one comes out. And God knows when that'll be, based on what Microsoft is doing. But I got into that, played maybe the first 1.5, 2 hours. This game, for one, is just magnificent. It is evocative, and it is frightening and scary and beautiful and confusing. It's mostly a puzzle. You're walking around a good bit of the time, but you're also doing some puzzles, and then there's some combat in there, and all elements of it are done very well. So I can't wait to jump back into that game because everything about it, from the acting, is just beautiful. It's just a beautiful looking game, honestly. The last game that I've been playing that I'll talk about further, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. So long ago, I had my little cousin over here, and all right, little kid, 5, 6 years old. Let's find him something, that'll appease him on my game so he can stay busy. So I asked him, what you want to play? He says, I want to play Power Rangers. So I download it. He plays it. I'm like, this game looks so freaking ridiculous. And then I'm just sitting there, nothing to do one night. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just go ahead and try this out. So I played Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. That is the last game that I was digging into. Which led me to believe, this is susceptible to kids wanting to play this game. And some adult minds of children. So they may be susceptible to playing it as well. Now, I say that as someone who played the game. So Power Rangers Battle for the Grid is also going to be the Was It Worth It for our episode here. And I'll be taking the lead on that. Cory, I know you played it some too.
Yeah.
So we have 2 adults here with minds like child's. This game is terrible. So let me try to tell you what the story is. The story is basically you're a Power Ranger. I think you start out as the pink Power Ranger, but then the green Power Ranger shows up, and he has the green crystal, which has power. So then some dude named Dracon decides he wants the green crystal so he can get power. So then he sends evil versions of Power Rangers in the past to take it from the current Power Rangers, but then other Power Rangers from the future who are good come back in the past that help the Power Rangers so that Draken can't get the green crystal so he can become more powerful. And so you have to fight Draken's thugs. You have to fight evil Power Rangers. Eventually, at some point, because you're desperate, because your Power Rangers are getting their tails whooped, you go to Rita and ask Rita for help. So then Rita, who's been mostly the antagonist, the main antagonist of the Power Rangers universe, she actually, quote unquote, helps you in some ways, but then betrays you like you didn't see it coming. So that's all happening, and that's the main story of it, right? That's the story of this fighting game. It's about 3-4 hour fighting, campaign or game, essentially. So I would say that a fair amount of the time, I felt like, at least from my playthrough, that you experienced the game mostly through the eyes of the Pink Ranger. That's who you play the most. Either the current Pink Ranger or the future good Pink Ranger. And they're different. They're not the same person. They're two different ones. So anyway, you go through and you fight. You can have up to 3 people on one side, or if you decide to have one person, they can get more lives, so that way they can fight longer as a way to try to even things out. The different fighters have different combos and abilities and moves and stuff like that. So you go about doing that. It's the fighting is mediocre. It's just not terrible, but it's not good. The different combos and everything you can do, it's all bare minimum. But what happens is that during the time you're fighting in the campaign, at least, you switch sides from fighting good, being the good guy, and being the bad guy. Now, why do you do this? For no reason. Okay? There is absolutely no reason you need to do this in order for them to tell you the plot of the game. In fact, it makes it more confusing because you'll beat up the evil White Ranger, because the White Ranger is evil in this one for some reason. And you'll beat up the evil White Ranger. You'll be like, all right, good, cool. And then the next match, which happens on the map, by the way, you're playing the White Ranger and you're beating up the Pink Ranger that you just were. So none of that makes sense. The switching and all that stuff doesn't make sense. The special abilities, they're cool, but they don't do like these incredible. They don't look incredible. If you think about, I believe it's Fighter Z, Dragon Fighter Z.
Dragon Ball Fighters.
Dragon Ball Fighters with the Z at the end.
Yes.
It's trying to do that, but with none of the effort and with none of the just brilliance of the visuals. Like, you pull moves in that game and you will go tipsy because of just how bright and dramatic everything is with the moves you make, and they do tons of damage. Here in Power Rangers, it's not that good. It's not. It's very bare minimum. As far as the background textures, you'll go through there. It's split up in, I believe, 3 acts, and they all have different chapters. They all take place most of them take place within 3 or 4 different levels, and they all have the same background. There's one background where you're fighting on this planet, and there's a Zord or whatever they call them, and then Goldar, the big version of them, and they're fighting in the background. That's part of the background aesthetic. You played for probably 8-10 chapters straight. It's the same background. So there wasn't a lot of effort put there. The voice acting is terrible. The story is terrible, and the fighting is mediocre. This is a bad game. This is for Power Rangers. Power Rangers is supposed to have some good stuff behind it. Has it historically? No. But this is supposed to be a good game. At least halfway decent, and it's not. It's terrible. Very poor. Was it worth it? Well, if you try to go right now and buy it on Steam, it's $20. It's not worth $20. It's on Xbox Game Pass right now. What would it be worth it on Xbox Game Pass? If you have it for something else, maybe. But if you're like, oh, should I maybe just get Game Pass and give it no. This game is worth $6.99, $7.99.
Would you feel better about playing the game if it was $7.99?
No.
No, you wouldn't.
No.
I think what you mean is you just want to avoid the game.
I think you maybe want to avoid this. This game is not worth it in any way, shape, or form. And for some weird reason, I'm a crazy person because it has a 9 out of 10 rating on Steam right now. But I believe that's just Power Ranger fanboys that love that the current gen Power Rangers game and they get to play it. So that's pretty much it. I haven't beat the game because the fighting and the difficulty is so imbalanced.
Right.
Because everyone else you can easily beat, and then the Dracon guy, the last level, you can't kill him. So it's ridiculous there. There's no balance. There's poor balance in the game, even from a difficulty standpoint. It's not worth it.
I hear you, Jeremy. I really do.
Okay.
But I think you're looking at it the wrong way.
Right.
You're looking at a fighting game. You talked a lot about story, stuff like that. It's a fighting game. You got to know if the mechanics are there. And this, I'm glad you brought up fighters, because this is a poor man's Vectors. It's not as good as that game by far, but it's tried to kind of emulate it a little bit with the 3-on-3 battles and easy combos, because Dragon Ball also has that. There's no, up, down, left, right, L1, R1 to do a combo. Same thing with Power Rangers. It's very easy. I think it's a decent beginner's fighting game. Like I said, the combos are easy. It's pretty smooth, the actual fighting. They're not too clunky. You can get around the level very easy. There's some fun aspects to it with the assist coming down. And you can actually get a Megazord in the level to help you once you get enough of your combo up, your meter up. I don't think it's a great game. I don't even know if it's worth it, but it's fun to me. I got enjoyable hours out of it. Hours. I played the game probably for 4 hours total. And it was okay. It wasn't bad. If you're a fighting game fan and a Power Rangers fan, which I think is a very small subset of gamers, I think it could be worth it for you.
If you're a crazy person.
Right. I mean, it's not a bad fighting game. If you just look at it as a fighting game, it's okay. They don't have a lot of characters. The roster is pretty small.
Right.
But they have a range character. They have the bigger, heavier characters, grapple characters, different variety of guns and swords and whips. And you can kind of get your team to be exactly what you want it to be, even with this small roster.
Yeah, to some extent, but even certain characters like modern present day Pink Ranger and future Pink Ranger, they have pretty much identical movesets.
I don't think those separate characters on the actual select screen?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Dragon Ball FighterZ has 5 Gokus in it.
But that's part of the lore.
Now, yeah, that is part of the lore. Like I said, I don't think it's a great game. For $20, is it worth? I don't even think it's worth it for $20. But I think Game Pass is the thing that kind of screws all this up. I didn't get Game Pass for this game, but it's part of the service. I downloaded it. I played this game more than I played Outer Worlds.
Right.
Which, because Outer Worlds is a big RPG that you really have to get into, and it's Power Rangers is just kind of like B-movie fun, It's terrible, but it's fun. The mechanics are just good enough to make you feel like there's a decent game here. So I don't know. Is it worth it? No. Is it worth your time if you already have Game Pass and you're a Power Rangers and a fighting fan? Yeah, maybe, kinda, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It's hard to decide, man.
Okay. That is a hard no for me.
That is a from me.
Gotcha. So, guys, let us know what you think. You got some Power Rangers Battle for the Grid fans, huh? You think it was worth it? I think you're a crazy person if that's the case. But what do I know?
9 out of 10 on Steam.
9 out of 10 on Steam. Right. There's not any crazy people on Steam.
No. It's as bad as Metacritic.
Right. Which takes us to our next segment. We're bringing back some Could You Please. So we've got some things that we want to happen in the gaming industry here, and we're going to ask politely that they happen. So let's go first here with a Could You Please.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay, so this year we've seen Streets of Rage 4. Battletoads just came out. Both beat 'em ups. I'm a big fan of the old school beat 'em ups, and I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And now I see Rocksteady announce a Gotham Knights with 4 playable characters. I see the Suicide Squad, which is going to be 4-player co-op. I'm asking, could you please make a 4-player Turtles game in the vein of a Suicide Squad, Arkham Knight, Gotham Knights, with a comic developer? Man, I think a lot of us have had that nostalgia for the Turtles growing up, watching the cartoons, watching the movies, and they just have not been treated right at all. A few years ago, there was a Platinum game, which I love Platinum as a developer, but they have an A team and they have a B team, and the B team is not good. Yeah. And they had made Turtles Out of the Shadow or something. I bought it. It was a terrible game. I want them to get a little bit of love and respect. A real developer put the care into it, set that world, because I think it could be a great game.
Yeah.
Please make it happen.
Yeah. I agree. Well, next to my could you please. My could you please is, going back to my favorite people, hey, Microsoft, could you please stay the F out of Ninja Theory's way while they work on Hellblade? Okay? Or not Hellblade, but whatever Senua's next thing is, right? Because, like I was saying before, the Senua's Sacrifice, it's a beautiful, emotional game. It's done well, and you guys have a really good talent of screwing stuff up. So just stay out of their way. Let them make their game. Also, Ninja Theory, could you please just put a little less puzzles in the game, okay? Just for us that are kind of puzzly challenged, right? A little less puzzle, more emotion, a little bit more combat, a little bit more variation in the combat, not just wave battle, puzzle, walk, puzzle, wave battle, puzzle, walk. There's a formula that's very predictable there. Besides that, keep doing what you do, love what you do. That's my could you please.
Cool.
Yeah.
David, shaking your head no for the last minute.
I had to think of something.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But I found it, and my could you please is with the Resident Evil 8 coming out, Village, and they're saying it's going to be one of the longest, if not the longest, Resident Evil game. I hope, could you please make it replayable? Like, I don't want to go through this long thing just to be like, I'm done with this game. Because like the Last of Us, the first one was 12, 15 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I literally replayed it about 20 times. So, please.
And you're not going to do that with The Last of Us 2?
No.
Just too long?
Yeah, I got the story. I'm good.
Okay.
That's a solid could you please.
I think that's fair from all of us. If they could just make that happen.
Yeah.
I mean...
Make what happen specifically?
Well, the things we all said. Microsoft stay away.
Oh, all the things that we want. Yes.
I didn't ask for anything. Yes. Anyone in particular. Just someone hear my words and take
someone make a good Turtles game.
Right.
It's
stay
about
away
time.
From Swaney's. Stay away from Swaney's Sacrifice.
No.
Please,
stay away from Ninja Theory. The developers of it. Yes. Yeah. Stay away. Don't touch them at all.
Because I agree with you. When you think of a turtle game, what do you think of all the really old arcade / ones that were like on Nintendo?
I want to think of something new.
Right. I agree. Totally. All right. That's our could you please, which leads us into the Indie Spotlight, where we like to spotlight independent games not from big publishers that we want to, give a little love to. So the Indie Spotlight game for this level is Fall Guys. Guys, I believe David and Cory, you guys have played this.
I've fallen a lot, yes.
Fall Guys, them boys up to something.
Right.
Drake Future,
Right.
Man.
Right.
Doesn't really make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing you think you said that doesn't make sense. Of everything you've said.
I did that in my head. I did that in my head for like the last 4 days. I'm like, this sounds great.
Right.
But it didn't when I said it out loud.
Right.
It's the delivery, Cory.
Was it?
Yeah.
All right, I'll practice and I'll come back next week with an even better one.
I think it's just the mind. But I do like that you're progressively vetting what you say now. as to whether it'll be funny
Just
or
spewing-
effective.
Just spewing it out of
Right,
my mouth at the
right,
time.
right.
Fair enough. Let's talk Fall Guys.
Yes.
All right.
Anyways,
So Fall Guys is a battle royale game, is what they say. I don't really consider it a battle
Another
royale.
one?
Yes, another one. It is a Mario Party type game. If you took all the best games from Mario Party and put them in a little bit longer of a version, and you threw 60 guys onto the game, that's what fun, in my opinion.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, it's awesome. You go through these obstacle courses, it looks kind of like the aggro crag from Nickelodeon Guts.
Gotcha.
And you have 60 people,
Yeah.
and they cut off, let's say, like 10%. Maybe 15 out of the 60. Then you
Right,
go
it
to
changes
another.
a lot. It's like 45.
Yeah.
33,
Usually first round's about 45.
40, like,
But pretty much what you're doing is you're going through these stages and you're trying to get down to be the last guy, just like any good battle royal game.
Right.
This game's hilarious, though. I think it has a good mix of skill and luck. You can win if you're skilled enough, but it's also just one of those games that if you lose, not a big deal. Not all the games. Some of the games are real weak. You kind of seen that. You have like a least favorite one, David?
there's this one where it puts you in the random teams and you have to like catch all the eggs into yours.
Yeah.
Like whichever team of the three has the least amount, they're eliminated.
Yeah. So there's.
Like, just give me the
There's
course.
different subsets of games. There's races, which are strictly like the obstacle courses, which I think are by far the most fun games.
Yes.
Shout out to Whirligig, which is a game where there's a propeller on the ground going around, and you have to jump over it, and you're just making it through this arena. There's team games, which I think are the weakest, because that does not involve your skill at all, really. You're really depending on your teammates. Then there's survival games, staying on a certain platform or something, and obstacles are coming at you, and you got to avoid them, or the obstacles are spinning, and you got to stay on them, which is real fun. And then you do a final game. If you're one of the last, I would say 20 to 5. I've actually got a game where there's been 20 people in the final.
Wow.
And there's 4 different types of games you can do in the final. One is the obstacle course called Fall Mountain. Just first one to race up to the top wins. There's one where you're jumping over obstacles as this arena's spinning. The worst one is a tail game where one person has a tail and you're pretty much playing tag, and you got to be the last one to have the tail. And then probably the best game is a game called Hexagon. It's this like honeycomb arena with these like squares on it, and when you stand on them, they fall out. So there's about 10 levels of these honeycombs, and you're trying to move around the arena without falling through, and at the same time you have 10 people, with you, and they're cutting you off and they're opening up gaps. But Fall Guys is a great game. It's very cutesy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's an adorable graphics.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of like I describe it as like cotton candy to me. Like it's very bright. It's very like like that. The actual characters are like jelly bean looking dudes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they look like beans.
Yeah, and there's some cool customization to it.
Up. Yeah, mine looks like a wolf.
Okay, yeah, mine is at the time a bullet to the gungeon, which is cool. What else was I gonna say? Go on, David, for a second while I collect my thoughts. Got anything to?
I mean, it's the same game that we've seen multiples of Battle Royale, but it's literally completely different from the rest of them. Like I said, it's not a shooter or anything like that.
Right.
You just jump in. And like I said earlier when I was, what you're playing, you could play for 20 minutes. You could sit there and play for 5 hours. At that point, you've played 100 games that day.
Yeah.
Like, it's very easy to just get into it. And the customizing is, simple. I haven't seen any kind of you could buy it with like real money and stuff.
There is microtransactions.
There is microtransactions.
Yeah, you can buy some stuff, and there is like a battle pass that's free. I don't know if they're going to put money on that later, but right now they're doing all the right things. It's one of the most popular games in the world at the moment.
Yeah.
So we were going to do a Was It Worth It, but everyone knows this game at this point. You know?
Yes.
People know whether they think it's worth it or not. I think it's worth it. It's just a great game. I've had my nieces play it. I've had my wife play it. I've introduced it to little cousins. Anyone can play the game is the thing. Like Warzone or Apex, you got to have some sort of level of skill to be able to even step foot into that arena.
Right.
Yep.
Fall Guys is just you're running, you're jumping. Those are the main things that you do, and it's so easy.
Yep.
Something that'll kind of give you an idea what type of game it is. I got an achievement for knocking into 1,000 people. I got that within like my first hour of playing. the whole game you're just bouncing into guys, and they got like these kind of ragdoll physics, and the games like put these choke points where everyone's coming together at the same time, and it just makes for an hilarious experience. If you don't win, you're not too salty.
Right.
And if you do win, you feel amazing. Every time I've won, I've done the Tiger Woods, knee up in the air, fist pump, scream out in a primal rage, because it just feels really good.
Right.
So,
and this, you're not necessarily losing because of other people. You didn't get cheap shotted. You didn't get shot from out of nowhere. You just couldn't get over that jump and kept falling.
Yeah, and like the thing is, it's hilarious because that jump isn't that hard.
Exactly.
You know, it's like one little thing on the ground. It's like, oh my God, why couldn't I do this? Now, I will say the team games is kind of where it's like, that's frustrating. You know, I did my part, but my teammates didn't do their part. And they're probably thinking the same thing about me.
And you didn't really, I've only had to play one team game once, and I played for about 3 hours.
Good for you, because I've had a lot more. But it's a fun game. I recommend, Jeremy, I know you haven't played it. I recommend you do play it.
Yeah.
It's a PS Plus game. Get that for a month, download it, you know, and play it, because it's fun. It's worth it. It does have where you can get into groups of 4. That doesn't matter at all. I guess when you do the team games, you'll be on the same team, but it's not like if I win, my buddy got, you know, special perks for winning.
Right.
But it is more fun to play with a group, just in terms of having people watching you.
Right.
Fall Guys, I would say get it. Great indie.
I think they really hit it on the nail on this one.
Do you have a favorite game, David, on there?
I just prefer the racing.
The obstacle course and stuff.
Like,
yeah, those are by far the most fun.
The one where you said you're just on a platform and you have to not fall. Like those were better than
those
the
are
team
okay.
games. But yeah, you just
obstacle courses are fun. They're pretty varied. There's 26 games.
Okay.
Like different games. None of them take more than a couple minutes.
Yep.
And there will be updates for it. There's going to be a season 2 announced very, very soon.
Okay.
I think at Gamescom.
Okay.
So, and they'll probably be adding more games, more, you know, stuff to customize your character and stuff. But Fall Guys, man, get it if you haven't played it. Great game, great indie.
I agree.
All right. That's our indie spotlight. Fall Guys. Get that thing and mess up people and I guess fail, but at least fail in style, very amusingly, right? All right, that leads us to final thoughts for this episode. It's the last thought we have, where we could be about anything we talked about in this episode or level or just something in general. So, who would like to give their final thoughts first?
I'll go. My final thought is, don't be afraid to try something new, because, let's admit it, you're going to be garbage at it. But that's okay. Like I said earlier, I just started to play piano again. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm learning. And that's what life is. It's all about learning in the process, and you'll be better when you put the work in. So just look at what you're trying to accomplish and not at where you're at.
This guy's a life guru.
I know.
I know. Jimmy, you really got to put the music over top, man.
Right.
It's just inspiring.
Soaring music.
Thank you.
I'm not following that up.
You're not following that up?
No, you go.
What do you got?
Okay, great. My final thought is, hey, we got this giveaway that we're doing, and we very much want to get everybody in the community involved. So if you know someone, like I said, we're doing the Switch this coming week, week 3. Even if you don't have a Switch, you may know someone who does, or you may have someone that you give it to in the future. Who knows? Maybe, someone might be getting it for Christmas or something. You say, oh, yeah, I got this, this Nintendo gift card in the clutch here. So my final thought is, please, everyone, if you can, make sure that you are looking out for those announcements on the giveaways. We still have week 4 coming up as well. Get engaged, share the love, share the message. It would be greatly, greatly appreciated. That is my final thought. Cory, what is your final thought?
Yeah, so we're a Michigan-based podcast, and there is a store in Michigan called Cherry Republic. Have you guys heard of this store?
I have not.
No.
What is it?
It is a cherry store. They sell cherry-based goods. Cherry sausages, cherry barbecue sauce, cherry pops.
Is it up in Traverse City?
I think there is one in Traverse City. I just looked them up today. I know them from Frankenmuth. I'd gone there a couple years ago, bought this 6-pack of cherry soda. It was the best cherry soda I've ever had. I don't go up to Frankenmuth a lot.
Right. That's
Which
only like an
sucks.
hour away.
That's a long way. That's a long way. So my wife's friend Britt brought me a 6-pack of cherry soda for my birthday. So thank you, Britt. And I just kind of want to shout out Cherry Republic. If you love cherry like every little kid does, that's their dream to one day these kind of places. You should. Cherries are amazing. Cherry flavor stuff is great.
Yeah.
If you go there, bring me back a 6-pack of the cherry pop because I got this 6-pack, but I'm afraid to drink any of them because I know I won't get another until my next year's birthday. So I've got to space these out.
Right.
It's literally a 2.5 hour process.
I almost cracked one open when I beat Ghost of Tsushima, but it was at like 7 a.m. So I'm like, that's too late. So I'm trying to figure out that good. I think after we do the 10th episode level,
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring one here and crack it open.
Okay.
But I only have 6, so I can't bring you guys any.
Right.
So if you guys get little solo cups, I can pour a little bit in there for you. But yeah, Cherry Republic. This has gone on too long. My final thoughts.
That's
Thank
fair.
you.
That's fair. I think Corey's final thought is just buy him cherry soda from Cherry Republic.
Essentially.
Yes,
This
please.
seems to be what that is.
Frankenmuth.
Which is totally fine. I fully support that request. That brings us to the end of level 9 of the Thoughts and Players podcast. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to the podcast on your preferred podcast service: Spotify, Apple, Google, iTunes or iHeartRadio, TuneIn, all that stuff. You can like the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/thoughts and players, one word, as well as on Instagram at thoughts.players. And we are also on YouTube where we upload clips as well as the full episodes of the podcast and any other one-off videos or essays we like to create. That is it for us. We once again appreciate all the love and support. Thanks again, and we will catch you on the next level.